I have two vices in life.
Welcome to Woodwork Journey. I'll show you some things. Welcome to Woodwork Journey. And some shenanigans.
Banggood sent me this Vice 2 review. Now, no money is exchanged hands. However, they've not seen this before you guys. And as always, these are my honest opinions. So, you can see that it's quite a chunky affair, so I was quite surprised when it turned up in the box because, as you see, the box is kind of fairly battered and bruised and it just had the bubble wrap around the outside. I would like it to have been a little bit more protected, but as you can see here, there isn't really any damage to it to worry about, so that was all fine. This little piece that I am unscrewing at the moment did get lost initially because it was just sellotaped to the inside of the bubble wrap, so make sure you find that because as you can see now I've unscrewed the handle, there's a little gap in the middle of it. Now the screw that I took out has this little pulley thing in there and that fits perfectly in the middle of the gap in the middle of the handle. So you can see when it's nice and centered how nice and spinny it is, but pull that ring and then away you go. And so you've got torque for days. Measuring this, it's about 5.5 centimeters thickness for the main chunk of the body there. And I am also measuring these sections at the rear of the vise because I'm going to need to make holes for those. I've got a kitchen work surface that I'm using as a table now, and I've got about 6 centimeters to play with, so there's plenty of space there to pop the vise, although I am going to have to make sure that those rear pieces have nice big holes that they can sit into. So I was going to go underneath, but now I'm going to go in front of that bit of wood. On the vise, you have to take off a couple of Allen keys or Allen screws, and then you can just undo the whole thing and pull it all apart. Everything is greased and so it's nice and easy, but obviously you're going to get dirty hands while you're doing it. Now at this point I couldn't figure out the best way of doing it because there aren't any installation instructions, so I've just kind of had a go at it. I'm not saying this is the way to install it, it's just the way that I did it, and it's a bit of a mess, but you'll see what I did. I'm just making these holes and kind of getting ideas on the sizes again, just double checking the sizes I mentioned earlier on, and then I'll write those underneath the circles that I just drew. Now I'm going to draw around it, and then after that I'm just going to cut it out. So I've made a rough template and I'm just going to stick some double-sided tape on the back of it. I would like to have seen a template for the hole guides to be included, but you know, hopefully Banggood will do that moving forward. I'm placing it on the wood, not overly straight, but on the wood nonetheless. And I haven't got the right size bit, so I'm having to use a 32 on this bad boy. So I'm giving myself plenty of space for mistakes. Not a lot of meat left on the wood, as you'll see, and you'll also might see that I'm slightly on the whiff. So yeah, it's because my dodgy template wasn't entirely straight. But there we go. I'm just using some big old long screws to screw the main block up into the unit. One of the great things about using a kitchen worktop is the fact that it's chipboard, so you don't really have to pre-drill. Now you can see when I've put this together just as a test that it works flawlessly. It's so smooth and I love it for that. It feels really pricey. Now what I'm going to do is add some jaws to it. Now if you've got this flush with a sort of a decent worktop, you really only need to worry about the front jaw, but I'm doing both front and rear, and for that I've got this sapele. I don't know if sapele is going to be very good for vice jaws, but I've got it. It was used in fences or something, or a conservatory or something like that, so I thought I'd give it a crack. Again, some dodgy measurement by just drawing holes in through the holes, trying to get things sorted out and right. This mat that I'm using here to keep things stable is actually to stop washing machines from jumping around. I'll leave a link to it down below if you want it, but it does a grand job at keeping things stuck in place, as you can see. I hated this drilling. It took forever, and I am still very upset that I sold my pillar drill. My stomach appreciated that bit. I didn't bore you with drilling all the holes, and to be honest, you should thank me because it took forever. Yes, look at that. Look. Surprisingly, with those honking great big holes, funnily enough, it fits. And just throwing things back together. I try to do plenty of checks as I'm going through these things because I know that I'm probably not doing things in the best way possible. And so I'm doing my level best to make sure that they work. I did a very similar process for the back jaw, as you can see, although I made smaller holes, and that meant that I had to sort of go at it with a rasp. And so, yeah, it's still ropey, but it is what it is. I said that you haven't got to pre-drill into the worktops, and you don't. However, sapele can be a little bit splintery, and so I'm just pre-drilling through those. And then I'm using my countersink to really make sure that they're well inset into the wood, so that they don't mar, the heads of the screws don't mar anything that goes in the vise. Throwing this straight in, I'm just sort of putting it in as a height that makes sense by touch, and then trying it out with the front and back jaws. I can try and line everything up to make sure everything goes as smoothly as possible. You can see that on the front there, one of those massive holes that I made. It's not right at all. But anyway, once things are smoothed up, I just ran a plane over it a couple of times. And now I'm going to use the holes in the front of the vise just to screw to the front block or the front jaw that I made, the original one. And yeah, just a couple of screws straight in there. Should have probably pre-drilled, but didn't. And I was feeling a little bit excitable. So, you know. Give it a little bit of a tidy up and sort of make the edges a little bit nicer. Doing things in all kinds of random ways because I didn't want to take it apart again. And there we go. That's pretty much it. So I'm going to tidy it all up. And at some point I may take it apart again and make it look even nicer. But I wanted some chunky jaws on it because I might put dogs on it at some point in time. I might not. Who knows? But the main thing is this vise that Banggood sent it's under 100 quid. I think they're on special at the minute for under 70 quid. But it is really, really smooth. And you can see the proper hash of things that I made putting this bad boy together. And it still works really, really nicely. I'm really, really pleased with it, to be honest with you. And I've always wanted a vise that you can just give a spin to and away you go. It's holding things nicely. It's doing what I need it to do. And if I need to make any adjustments to the kind of the back of the rear jaw or anything like that, I can do that nice and easily. And obviously pull that out and you get a little bit more torque as well if you want it, or just to move the handle out of the way. All things considered, I so far really, really like this vise. You can see that I've just installed it, so I haven't got a long-term kind of idea. However, you know, what can go wrong? It's a big lump of aluminium and it's working like a champ. I really like it. And for the money, specifically at the moment, at the release of this video, I think it's certainly worthwhile. As always, I'll leave links down below. Everyone's a winner. Thanks very much for watching.